Animate Your World. Yeah, things about to get really weird in here. Hey everyone, this is Rabbit Ears Blog Animation Bliss, and welcome to another ranking list series. So today's animated series that we'll be ranking today is the Animate Your World promos that came on Cartoon Network. Now, what are the Animate Your World promos, you ask? Well, they're a set of promos that aired on Cartoon Network throughout the 1990s, and they were created by Curious Pictures. And basically, the goal of these promos was to help encourage creativity for children and adults. And these set of promos were aired on Cartoon Network at 2 a.m. in the morning, as they were a part of Cartoon Network's incentive, Cable in the Classroom. So to be honest with you guys, I actually forgot about the Animate Your World promos that used to air on Cartoon Network in the 1990s, because these set of promos only aired on the network a few times when I was a kid, and I've actually only seen one of the segments from this series, as they play that one segment so many times when I was a kid, and they didn't really show any of the other segments. But then again, I went to bed around 2 a.m. when I was a kid, so of course I wasn't able to watch all these Animate Your World segments that came on Cartoon Network. So yeah, there was a lot of these segments that I actually missed out on when I was a kid, but thankfully I was able to track down most of these segments, and I was able to watch most of these segments, and now I'm able to do a ranking list of all these segments. But of course there's like a total of 11 promos, but I was only able to find 8 of these promos, so there's like 3 other promos that are missing. So I guess this could count as lost media in a sense. But anyway, I'm gonna rank all the 8 promos that I was able to find online, and I'm gonna rank it from least favorite to most favorite. So let's go on ahead and get started with this ranking list. So number 8 for me is Part of Your Brain, and this is the promo that's basically talking about the more creative parts of your brain, and it just showcases all the creative parts of your brain, like how to dance and how to draw and stuff like that. And then there's also a part of your brain that's like not creative, or is telling you not to be creative, and that's like the part of the brain that they need to get rid of. And that's pretty much what this whole promo is all about. And the reason why this promo is low on my list is because even though I love the message that this promo is given to the audience, like how there's a lot of creativity in your brain, I felt like this is the least creative in terms of animation. Like, what I love about the Animate Your World series is that there's a lot of bizarre imagery going on throughout these segments, and I felt like that this one doesn't have a lot of bizarre imagery compared to the ones that I will be talking about later. So that's why this is so low on my list, is because I feel like out of all of the Animate Your World segments that were being shown, I felt like this one is the least creative visually wise. So yeah, I like the message, but I wish that it was a little more creative visual wise. So Mistakes is basically this promo that's all about, you know, how it's okay to make mistakes when you're trying to be more creative, because mistakes are natural, it happens all the time. What matters is that you learn from your mistakes and that you try to do better in the near future. And even though I love the designs of the characters in the segment, like I think that the characters look very bizarre in this segment, and I love that, I felt like the content didn't really stand out to me. It's like, yeah, I know that mistakes are a natural part of life. People make mistakes all the time, and that's okay. Like, you know, you're not going to get everything on the first try, and that's fine. And I do love the fact that this segment is actually addressing that, and that they're telling kids that it's okay to make mistakes. You know, if you make a mistake on something, that's alright. But I felt like the content here didn't quite stand out to me as much as the other segments later on in this video would. So that's why this one's kind of low on the list. So the next promo is Brain on a Plane, and it basically showcases a brain literally on the plane, and it's just showing how the brain is going to all these different places across the world. And the message here is that you can take your mind to different places, and that will help you be more creative with your ideas. And I do love the message of this particular segment. I also love the animation shown here. Like, I thought the animation was pretty bizarre, especially when you have a literal brain inside of a plane. And I definitely love James Earl Jones' narration through all this. So yeah, James Earl Jones is actually narrating this segment, and I really love how excited he sounds in this segment, so it really made this segment stand out to me. But I definitely love the animation being shown here, and I just love the bizarre nature of having a literal brain being put inside of a plane and going to all these places. So that's what I really loved about this promo. So this next segment is called Be a Vacuum Head, and it's basically encouraging people to put ideas into your head, like you're basically sucking ideas from wherever you go, like a vacuum cleaner, and that's what this whole segment is all about. And I do love this segment as well because it has a very bizarre type of animation, and it's just really interesting seeing like a vacuum cleaner come out of the person's head and literally vacuum up every kind of idea that comes into their head. So I do love that surreal nature about having a vacuum cleaner coming out of your head and suck in all the ideas that could go into your head, because like the message of this segment is basically, you know, you can't be creative unless you get some ideas into your head. So be a vacuum cleaner head and just suck in some ideas to go into your head so you can get more creativity. So this next segment is called Can't, and basically the message of this segment is not letting your doubts get in the way of you being more creative. Like Can't is like a person in this segment, and he's basically like portrayed as a criminal who's basically robbing people's ideals and stuff like that. So I really love the approach that they took with this segment. Like they made Can't into a criminal who's like stealing ideas, and I thought that that was really creative. And I love how they were able to portray the message about not letting your doubts get in the way of your creativity in such a creative way. So I definitely really enjoyed this segment. So in this segment, Bob, we have a man named Bob who looks like your average everyday person, but then the narrator tries to figure out ways to make Bob look more interesting. Like basically the message of this entire segment is that you can have different points of views about how you view things, and in this segment it's like we're viewing Bob the character in many different ways. Like we can view Bob inside out, or Bob through a fish point of view, or have Bob be cut in half and stuff like that. So yeah, that's basically what this segment is all about. And this is actually the segment that I used to watch a lot as a kid. Like this was the only segment they showed a lot when I was a kid, because as I stated before, I used to go to bed a lot at 2 a.m. so I wasn't able to watch the rest of the segments at the time. But yeah, the Animate Your World segment, Bob, was the one that I watched a lot as a kid, and it's actually the one that I was scared of the most. Like the scene where Bob gets torn in half was the scene that stood out to me as a kid, and it was a scene that freaked me out a lot as a kid, because I was surprised by how graphic that scene looked when they tore Bob in half and you could see the blood coming out, and I was like, oh my god, they showed this to little kids at the time. But yeah, this is why this particular segment stood out to me a lot as a kid, because of the scene where Bob gets torn in half and you see all the blood come out, and I was a little kid when I was watching that segment, so I was like, oh god. But anyway, despite that trauma I had with this particular segment, I still love this segment because I love how creative they got with showing the different points of view about how you see Bob as a character, and I just love how creative the animation was throughout this segment. Like Bob is shown as this cutout person, and I just love how they were able to animate him with all these different situations. So I definitely really enjoyed this segment, despite that one traumatizing scene about Bob being cut in half. So the next segment is big, and this promo is basically encouraging people to exaggerate your ideas a bit, like make your ideas bigger than they actually are. And I really like this segment because I love the animation in this segment. Like there's a lot of bizarre imagery in this segment. Like there's this one image of this giant flea playing a banjo on top of the dog, which was the image that really stood out to me the most in this particular segment. But I really love the message of this segment as it talks about how you can exaggerate your ideas, and I think that's a really good message. And the really surreal animation throughout the segment complements very well with the whole exaggerate your ideas thing. So yeah, I really enjoyed this segment. Before we get into my number one promo, here are a few words from the channel. All aboard the Animated Social Media Express. Want to send some tweets my way? Then follow me on Twitter. Want to join our special animation community? Then join our Discord group, Animation Bliss. Want to see more updates on our YouTube videos? Then check out our Facebook group, Animation Bliss. Want to download on everything going on with this channel? Then check all of the above. And now, back to the video. So my number one pick is Redecorate Your Reality. And basically the goal of this segment is that you have the power to turn your ideas into whatever you want it to be. And throughout this segment, we see all of these bizarre creatures like redecorating their rooms to make it into something that they want to make it into, or redecorate their ideas to make it into something that they want it to make into. So you have this scene about this mad scientist trying to bring a potato back to life, and then you see all these other characters like redecorate their room in such bizarre ways. So that's what this whole promo is all about. This is my most favorite promo out of all the Animate Your World segments because I just love how bizarre this segment looks, especially when you have all these creatures trying to redecorate their rooms. And of course there's that scene about the scientist creating a living potato, which really stood out to me throughout this segment. But yeah, I love all the bizarre creatures showing up in this segment. I just love how weird this particular segment is, and I love how the message of the segment is basically that you have the power to make your ideas into what you want it to be. So yeah, that's why this segment is my most favorite segment out of the Animate Your World series. So that's my ranking list for Cartoon Network's Animate Your World series. Like, I can't believe that I just now remember about this series. Like, even though I only watched one segment a lot as a kid, which was the Bob segment, I still love the fact that this is a series that encourages people to be more creative with their ideas. And I feel like that we need more commercials like this, or more promos like this, that encourages people to use their imaginations or use their creativity to their advantage. And I just love that they have these promos that's able to showcase all that in such a creative and bizarre way. So yeah, I definitely enjoy these Animate Your World segments, and let me know in the comments down below, have you guys seen any of these Animate Your World segments? And if you have, how would you rank these segments? Please let me know in the comments down below. Well, hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is Rabbit as well, Animation Bliss, and I'll see you guys later. Hey animation fans, like this video? If you want to see more animated content from this channel, then please hit that big old animated subscribe button so that you can get more awesome content from this channel.